Okay, what makes good brainstorming good brainstorming? Go for quantity, not quality. You want to have a large search space. Remember, design is kind of like a search space. You want to start at the wide end of the funnel and sample lots of ideas. Independent ideation can help because people come up with different ideas when they don't talk to each other. You want to suspend judgment and build off previous designs. And every idea is a good idea, at least at first. You want to entertain them, and eventually you can critique and winnow them down as needed. And you should sketch if you can. It's easier to find and remember. If you're looking at a whole bunch of text and a whole bunch of sketches, the sketches will be easier to visually survey and more memorable when you come back to it later. Finally, you want to iterate to generate and reduce. So once you've done your brainstorm, you may want to vote on the best options and then come back and then generate more, come back to it, etc. You can do this reduction step multiple ways. It can be through clustering, merging, prioritizing. So once you generate lots of ideas, you may want to cluster them into different groups based on similar ideas. You may want to merge them. You say two ideas are very similar, so you combine them as one idea that's maybe a little more elaborate, and you want to prioritize them. You can vote on what you think the best thing is. So if we had to look at the design process and where it fits into the larger project lifecycle, one way you might look at it is there's engineering and there's sales. And this would be a very traditional view where you don't consider design as an explicit step. You do the engineering, you create the product or whatever you're producing, and then you start to sell and you produce lots of options. If you add a design into it, often it's considered this first step. And so you want to start by sampling this idea, doing lots of brainstorming, ideation, sketching, narrowing down to a first proposal, and then you put it through the engineering pipeline to make sure it actually works. So we talked about design as optimization before. So let's say that you have a fitness function for your problem. You found this out by talking to your potential users. You know what they value, you know the problem space. So if you want to sample the space, you want to find several areas for hill climbing. So that's your brainstorming. And then you climb those hills, so you iterate. So you start by brainstorming lots of ideas, and then each one you then iteratively refine to get to the top. And by sampling this large space, you make sure you you try and find a global optimum or something close to one. And then by hill climbing, you kind of make sure it's the best possible example of that. You've seen these funnels before. You want to do these elaborations and reductions. And when you consider this in the design process, you end up with something like this for the full process when you're doing design. You start off by doing as many different concepts as possible. So you have lots of ideas, and then you have an initial reduced amount. Once you have that, you then start to say, how can these vary? How can we improve them? So your idea group, like your potential solutions, actually grows again, and then it starts to shrink. And you keep doing this. You do these kind of controlled convergence and concept generation. So you generate concepts, you converge, generate, converge, until you finally have a final proposal that you present forward. Once you consider how iterative this is, we go through this process multiple times, and then you do incorporate into the overall project lifecycle, you probably want to include design throughout the entire process. So you might consider engineering, design, and sales, management, marketing all throughout the process. Design is still a bit of an upfront thing. You want to start with a lot of design, and it continues, but then maybe starts to become less of the bulk of the activities as you start to put it through the engineering pipeline. So again, design is like optimization. You search through possible samples iteratively. You sample, you kind of brainstorm ideas or ideate in various ways, collect ideas, and then you hill climb. You start to refine those ideas. And then you keep doing that over and over again. You eventually conclude with your final set of ideas. The key takeaways from this lecture are sketching is a critical design skill. You don't need to be an expert artist to sketch. It involves visually communicating your ideas, and this will serve you well in a variety of fields, especially HCI-related fields. There are established techniques for sketching quickly and understandably, so make sure you have some of these in your back pocket, like the STAR method. Brainstorming has key principles. So you want to go for quantity, not quality. You want to suspend judgment and just have no bad ideas at first. You can criticize them later. Then you start independently to reduce groupthink. You sketch if you can, it's more memorable and easier to skim, and you iterate following your elaboration or reduction funnels. So generate ideas, reduce them by merging, clustering, prioritizing, etc. So make sure you're able to sketch and run an effective brainstorming session, and that's what you should get out of this lesson. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.